Donald Trump's acting Attorney General, Matthew Whitaker, agreed to take part in a hearing involving the House Judiciary Committee. Now, the House Judiciary Committee is very much interested in investigating all of the various scandals that Donald Trump is involved in, but they're also curious to see if Whitaker has played any role in helping Donald Trump in, defending himself in this investigation, or if he's had any type of influence in this investigation. So, they're doing a little bit of digging. Whitaker is clearly irritated that he's taking part in this, but just know that Whitaker has agreed to take part in this. So, look, this is probably the heart of the substance to the story, and then we're gonna go to the fun stuff, which is the fighting that took place during this hearing. So Whitaker testified that he has not interfered in the special counsel investigation, that he oversees or denied funding for it, as Democrats pressed him on everything from his conversations with the president and other White House officials to his decision not to recuse himself from the Mueller probe. Now, I would argue that it was important for him ethically to recuse himself from the Mueller probe because of his previous statements about the investigation. He called it a witch hunt. He essentially agrees with the president in that there's nothing there, that it's nothing more than a politically motivated attack against Trump. And so given that he had made those statements, he should have recused himself, but he's refused to do so. So that's what essentially spurred this hearing, and we're gonna show you clips from it in just a moment. Before we do though, do you wanna jump in with anything?
Yeah, so Whitaker was desperately trying to avoid testifying. Then he came out and said, well, I'm not gonna tell you any conversations I had with the president. And then he said, okay, fine, I didn't talk to the president about this investigation. So then what's the issue with testifying? So why bother fighting it? So what I couldn't quite figure out is what he's hiding. Now, the unfortunate thing is he's gonna be gone in about a week. So we might never find out what he's hiding, but he seemed, and we'll show you in some of the clips here, seemed intent on running out the clock and making sure that they don't get to certain topics. But it was hard to discern what topics he was trying to avoid. Exactly.
So we're gonna start off with Representative Nadler, who is the chairman of the House Judiciary Committee, questioning Whitaker, and just pay close attention to the way Whitaker handles these questions.
That at least one briefing occurred in December before your decision not to recuse yourself on December 19th and Christmas Day. Is that correct?
What's the basis for that question, sir?
Yes or no? Is it correct?
It
is our understanding that at least one briefing occurred between your decision not to recuse yourself on December 19th and 6 days later, Christmas Day. Is that correct? Simple enough question, yes or no?
Mr. Chairman, again, what is the basis for your question? You're saying that it is your-
Sir, I'm asking the questions. I only have 5 minutes. So please answer yes or no.
No, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to, you were asking me a question. It is your understanding. Can you tell me where you get the basis?
No, I'm not going to tell you that. I don't have time to get into that. I'm just asking you if that's correct or not. Is it correct? Were you briefed in that time period between December 19th and Christmas Day? Simple question, yes or no?
Congressman, if every member here today asks questions based on their mere speculation.
All right, never mind.
The way he handled that, I think, makes him even more suspicious. Like, why can't you answer that question? You decided that you would not recuse yourself. That's the whole point of this hearing, why you decided to do that. Why can't you answer the question? Why is that so difficult?
Well, I think also Nadler said later that whether or not you answer this question now, we're gonna get the answers even if it's as a private citizen in your next stage, right? What's crazy about the Trump administration isn't just that they're conservative or not, right?
That's right, yeah.
They don't believe in same rules for all. And they totally flaunt it to us that they are beyond the rules. And it's just such BS.
Yeah. So whatever that meeting was between December 19th and 25th, well, that might be something he's hiding, because Nadler's right. It's a really simple question, because he didn't get into the hard questions of what was the meeting about, who helped you make the decision about recusing yourself, some questions that they asked later. But did you have a meeting? It's not a hard question. And so when he goes to try to avoid that question, it's obvious that he's stalling, and there's topics he desperately does not want to talk about.
Well, if that provided some evidence that he was stalling, the next video will provide even more.
In your capacity as acting Attorney General, have you ever been asked to approve any request or action to be taken by the special counsel?
Mr. Chairman, I see that your 5 minutes is up, and so I'm here voluntarily. We have agreed to 5-minute rounds, and
I've never seen anything like that. That was unbelievable.
Look, I actually, he's a rookie. He doesn't have a lot of experience. That's why Trump picked him, just to be a loyalist. He never got confirmed as Attorney General, and that's why now William Barr is going through that process. And he's acting Attorney General. It's a thing that Trump invented, right? And so he picked this random dude because he had publicly said that Trump is right and Mueller is wrong, et cetera. So he comes in here and makes a rookie mistake, because you don't want to be laughed at for the whole country, saying, I think your time is done. That's not how it works. But I'm not as, if that had just happened by itself, I wouldn't be as freaked out as everybody else. But he kept going back to, hey, there's only 5 minutes. He kept reminding everybody over and over again throughout the hearings, throughout the day. There's only 5 minutes, remember. So what does that mean? That means somebody coached him. Dude, you just got to run out the clock on everybody. Everybody's only got 5 minutes. His consultant or whoever told him.
It's like he watched too many episodes of Hoosiers and thought he could run out the clock in the basketball game and there's no shot clock, right? But this isn't college basketball. This is the rule of law, and they don't seem to want to play by the rule of law.
I just realized something. He's very Trump-esque in being unwittingly transparent about what he's doing, right?
Exactly.
Like other politicians are usually a little savvier. They would try to run out the clock, but they wouldn't just brazenly say that they're running out the clock. Like he didn't use those words, but obviously since he kept mentioning you're running out of time or your 5 minutes is up, that's what he's hyper focused on. And that's why even when it came to very simple questions, he wouldn't answer, he would try to go around in circles. It's just very strange behavior, especially from someone who keeps saying that he hasn't done anything wrong and that he's doing everything ethically, even though again he should have recused himself if he genuinely was worried about ethics.
So it's just a great point by Anna. And I hadn't quite thought of it in that exact way. Now, I've unfortunately been watching these hearings for over a quarter of a century because I'm old. And so I know how a professional does it. They come in and go, well, it's a good question, Congressman. And given my background, which I want to tell you about a little bit, right? It'll take like 90 seconds. And then the congressman will have to interrupt and will seem rude for interrupting in the middle of the guy's filibuster. This knucklehead is like Trump. Somebody told him, hey, run out the clock. Maybe they only have 5 minutes. He comes in and goes, you only have 5 minutes. Remember, you have 5 minutes, okay? You can only ask so many questions. You can't ask the questions I don't want you to ask because you've only got 5 minutes. Hey,
it's unbelievable.
That's not how you do it.
But the good news is he looks so ridiculous that probably even to some of Trump's supporters, his credibility is diminished, right?
I doubt it. I doubt it 100%.
For Trump supporters,
Maybe I'm being too hard.
I like that guy. I like that guy. He's strong. He ran out the clock strongly.
Yeah.
Anyway, very strong running out of the clock. So let me give you a statement from Whitaker, which you will find hilarious given the videos that we've been showing you. He said in regard to his participation in this hearing, I want to assure you that I will seek to answer the committee's questions today as best as I can, but I also must make clear that I will continue the longstanding executive branch policy and practice of not disclosing information that may be subject to executive privilege, such as the contents of deliberations or conversations with the president. So there are two parts there that I want to focus on. The first part is how he says he's going to answer the questions to the best of his ability. He didn't do any of that. He had no interest in answering any of the questions. If anything, his appearance there was to show Trump that he is very much loyal to him, and more importantly, that he's willing to fight for him. Because that was what this entire hearing was. It was very combative. And it was very clear that he is a supporter of Trump's and that he's willing to do what's necessary to fight for him.
Yeah, so two quick things on that. Look, there are bounds to, there's executive privilege is real, and there are bounds to what he's allowed to answer. But those bounds are around legality. So if they ask him, hey, what did you advise the president about policy? That's not necessarily a question that he should answer. But if they ask him, did the president ask you to stop the Mueller investigation, which is a question of legality, in other words, is the president doing obstruction of justice, he must answer that, okay? So those are the lines. I'm not sure Whitaker knows where those lines are, or if he does, whether he wants to adhere to those lines. And so that's why everybody mentions executive privilege, But then the question is, do you abuse executive privilege? And I think that that's the direction that he was going
You
here.
gotta be careful. He might not know the difference between the 3-point line and the free throw line, and it's a lot of lines.
A lot of blurred lines for him. And one other thing he wants to avoid has nothing to do with Trump. It has to do with him. He has been questioned publicly about a couple of questionable things that he's done. We ran a story here on the Young Turks about how he's involved in on the board of a company that ran a scam, and part of the scam was that he would then, as a former U.S. attorney, would go and write letters to people saying you might be arrested, and for trying to get your money back from this company. So that's pretty terrible stuff that he used his former office for, and he wouldn't even give back like $9,000 that he'd made to the people that courts had adjudicated were scammed. Like they needed to collect as much money from the scammers as they could to give back to the people who had been victimized, and he wouldn't give back the money. So he did not want to answer that in national. So he's like, you get 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes, right? So that's another issue he's trying to avoid.
Now, the other part that was noticeable during this hearing was how Democrats and Republicans would spar in efforts to protect Whitaker during the line of questioning. So I'm going to show you 2 examples of that. In the first, you have Representative Doug Collins and Representative Swalwell going after one another over Whitaker. It's insane. Take a look.
Contributions from foreign donors.
Mr. Chairman, point of order.
I'd ask you to stop the clock.
Now, gentleman will suspend. The gentleman will state his point of order.
My point of order, and I'm going to go back to this, and would again, undoubtedly, the majority does not care. But this is outside the scope of this hearing. This was not while he was employed here, and whether he outside had donors or not during the time he was not employed, making no connection either way is not inside the scope of this hearing. And that's not the call of this committee. Now, and look, I'm outgunned over here. I have no votes. This is not part of the call of the hearing. Mr. Swalwell, there's plenty of things to do. Ms. Cicilline, you
Well,
can...
the gentleman, Mr. Collins, if you want to sit down there with his lawyers, you can go sit down there, but you're not his lawyer.
The gentleman will suspend.
And neither are you, Mr. Swalwell. And if you ask questions that are actually part of this, instead of running for president down there, we could get this done.
You can sit down there, there's room.
Both gentlemen will suspend.
I mean, this is taxpayer money is being utilized for this nonsense hearing. Like that's the thing that like frustrates me. There's obviously nothing that's going to come out of this, so why waste any time or resources on it?
Well, I mean, look, if they're doing their job and they actually unearth something, then something would come out of it. I'm actually in favor of the hearing. I am amused that, look, I get it. There's a lot of political theater going on. And Collins earlier made a impassioned plea to stop the political theater. He's saying the other side is using hearings just to make political points. These guys admitted when Obama was president that they would often use hearings to try to damage Hillary Clinton's presidential prospects.
That's right.
Okay, so you guys teach a master's class in political theater, so please spare me your fake outrage. And then if you notice, you took a shot at Swalwell, while you're trying to run for president, right? So I don't mind Swalwell's questions. I thought they were legitimate, and Collins is trying to help run out the clock. But if you notice, the chairman Nadler was like, "Let's pause the clock before you guys have this nonsense debate back and forth."
Well, Representative Collins certainly came to fight, and in the next clip, you're going to see him going at it with Representative Raskin.
Okay, Mr. Whitaker, see if you can get into this. Tell us where the money came from that you were paid, the $1.2 million that you were paid before you went to the Department of Justice. I'm asking my question.
Mr. Chairman, point of order, which overrules your question. Point of order.
The gentleman will explain his point. The gentleman will suspend. The gentleman will state his point of order.
Look, we're going to go down this probably many more times, but again, if you wanted to do a confirmation hearing, this is not under the scope of this hearing. This is not a confirmation hearing, and is not shown to be a.
Mr. Chairman, this goes to
the gentleman's. We're in the middle of the.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman. Is the ranking member just going to continue to interrupt when he doesn't like the flow of questions?
Excuse me.
I'll probably make a point of order when that needs to be made. Right now,
good if it'd be useful if it was actually a point of order.
Everyone will please suspend.
Maybe I'm being unfair to Representative Nadler. Like, wake up, like fight. I mean, you're losing control of what's going on in this situation. I don't know. I want more fire, I guess.
I don't know. He's in a tough situation. Like he's got to let the Republicans make their point of order. But if Collins wants to interrupt every single speech with a point of order, yeah, it gums up the process. So it puts them in a very difficult spot.
You're being very weird today. Okay, I don't understand your commentary.
The gentlewoman will suspend. Gentlewoman will suspend.
Not consistent. Objection to the inconsistency in the way he's handling the story. No, I mean, but Republicans came to fight, and Nadler's the chairman. Like wakey, let's go. You can't let him interrupt the line of you can't let Collins interrupt the line of questioning every single time like this.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Okay, I'm looking forward to Representative Kasparian handling some hearings.
I like that.
I wish. Yeah, that'd be great.
Thanks for watching this free clip of the Young Turks. Don't forget to become a TYT member today. For more exclusive content, join now at tyt.com/join.